Just keep paddling. Just keep paddling. Just keep paddling.
Hello, welcome back to 340 Paddler, and part of the 340 that we all think about is paddling at night. What are you likely to come up against? Well, it could look something like this, where there's a boat out there. It's a little hard to see what's going on, but really, most of the time it looks something like this. Those points of light being people's stern lights, transitioning off into the distance, all lit with the moon, beautifully done. This is probably what you're going to see night one, but what sort of things do you have to think about when night paddling, especially night paddling on one of the largest bodies of water, one of the largest rivers in the world? Well, first of all, you can finish without night paddling or without much of it. So when you look at the times, I'm going to bring up my pen here to highlight things. When you look at the times that are required, specifically the speeds, during the day one, you need to keep a fairly high speed. You'll be up around 6 miles an hour to make Waverly on time. But after that, assuming you leave Waverly at the cutoff at 8 p.m., you just need to do 3.4 miles an hour to Glasgow, which is, well, just above floating. So that would give you time to sleep. You can do the same thing into Jeff City. You can definitely do the same thing from Jeff City into Herman. And then it speeds up again towards the end. So you don't really need to do much paddling at night. You could get away with maybe an hour's paddle at night and sleeping 6 hours. But having said that, that means that you will get to St. Charles pushing that cutoff. So you need to make sure that you're paddling well during the day, making up for the time you lose for sleeping at night. I should also point out almost everyone, unless you're moving way up in the front, is going to sleep at night at some point. Even some of the front runners will do a 20-minute nap somewhere along the line. So let's talk about lights. We need to light the boat, obviously, and there's a requirement. You need to have a red light on the port bow, so the port front of the boat. You need to have a green light on the starboard and a white light on the stern. It should be visible from a mile. Those eGuardian, or their little LED lights you can put on your dog or your house or wherever else, tiny little LED lights work beautifully for this. Most of us just Velcro them on. Now there's some other things we need to think about at night. Barges. There are night barges. The last couple of years there have been night barges. I think 2017 and 2018 there were night barges running through. And oftentimes you're going to see something like this. Now usually people will let you know ahead of time. The best thing to do with these night barges is get off the water. If you want more detail about what to do with the night barges, some of the signaling they use, then there is a video on night barges specifically. But my basic recommendation is if you come across a barge at night that is underway, get off the water or get the heck out of the way, whatever you can do, because the wash behind it, dealing with 3 and 4 foot chop, is really difficult during the day. It becomes far more difficult at night. So take the time, take 30 minutes off the water, relax, and then get back on and go. Cold becomes an issue at night. Now, you wouldn't think so, because, of course, you're in Missouri, the temperatures might be in the 60s, and you would go, well, that's not too bad, but you've been cranking all day paddling, you're sweaty, so honestly, one of the best things you can do is hang out by the campfire. Once you get to a checkpoint, warm up. But let me point this out. At night, you will probably be warmer if you stay on the water, because there's radiant heat coming off the river. So when you come off the river, you're going to get cold, and you're going to be tempted to stop. Unless you're planning on sleeping at that point, your best bet is get back in the boat and keep going. That radiant heat will help you. Also, dress in layers. I always carry a coat, a windbreaker with me that I can throw on in the water. Well, on the water. Hopefully not in the water. Then you have the issue of bridges. Now, of course, there's lots of bridges in Kansas City. There are a lot less that we deal with once you get beyond Kansas City. And trust me, you'll be be beyond Kansas City by nightfall. And with the bridges, you're going to see these nav lights. They're going to be red and green lights. What you want to do is when you're faced with a bridge like this, and you see we've got red lights on 3 of the spans and green right here in the middle. What you want to do is aim for the middle right at the green. You really want to pass under the green light. And this is really helpful because sometimes you might have night blindness for various reasons. You might not be able to make out where the bridge piers are because they're not lit up. If you aim at that light, you will not hit a bridge pier. It is always right in the middle. Do not, under any circumstances, aim for a red light. There's some other tips for night paddling, and these are sort of broad tips. You don't have to take them all, but they are pretty good ideas. Number 1, don't overdo your lighting. There are a lot of people who will get the 12 million mega lumen light and they will shine every channel marker down the river. Don't do it. Just aim for the middle of the river. Keep an eye on the tree line ahead of you. You'll be fine. If you do too much for lighting, you will night blind yourself, and that's going to be a problem because having night vision is much more useful than having a 12 million megawatt light. After all, your ears are pretty darned accurate at picking out wing dikes and other things. In the cockpit of your boat, use a red glow stick. Crack the glow stick, throw it in. It will illuminate things enough that you can see what you're doing. So if you need to grab food or a water bottle, you know where it is. Use red because it doesn't mess up your night vision. So it's going to make life a lot easier. These are dirt cheap at Walmart or elsewhere. 1 will get you through the entire night. I usually pack 2 for the 2 nights I'll be out there. If I'm going slower, maybe 3 or 4 for however many nights I plan on being there. And usually my ground crew has double the amount that I have. So if something goes wrong, I always have an extra. Then there's always paddling with a partner. At night, it becomes a lot easier if you paddle in a group. And what I generally ask people to do or advise people to do is wait. So you're at Miami, you've come in, you're on your own, wait, relax. When someone else is ready to go with them. And just ask, hey, is anyone going in the next hour? That sort of thing. And hook up with those people. And what you'll do is you'll get a little group of people together. You have more vision, more eyes on the water. More than likely, one of them is a veteran, so you will have some guidance as you move down the river, and you'll have some conversation. It can get very lonely if you're out above Glasgow in the middle of the night for the first time ever, and you're completely alone. Ultimately, night paddling is one of the most beautiful things you will experience on the 340. Somewhere on the forums, there is a poem that Brett Durfer wrote about night paddling. It's a beautiful poem talking about the beauty of the entire experience, the quiet, the ability to see things you wouldn't otherwise observe. You will see shooting stars, for example. One other fun little trick, the moon will come up at some point at night. I know it's shocking, but it does, assuming it's not a cloudy night, and you can follow the trail of the moon in front of you. If you look at that reflection in front of you, or any light reflection, it will tell you if there's a wing dike between you and that point. And that's a really good tip to keep in mind as well, because you'll see the break of a wing dike cutting across that reflection if one appears. Otherwise, hopefully you enjoy night paddling. Hopefully you enjoy the 340 overall. And until then, keep your paddle in the water.